Hello, everybody. It's a beautiful day here in Abu Dhabi, and I just wanted to share a few comments with you about Module 3, Taking and Embracing Risk. So we're still in Module 2. You should have posted your framework a couple of days ago, and now you're looking at other people's frameworks. So really take a bit of time to look at some of those and leave some comments, because when you get to Module 3, taking a risk, I want you to really pay attention to a couple of elements here. And I think by seeing what other people have done with their modules or with their frameworks will be quite eye-opening for you. So as I said yesterday in my previous video, there's two general types of frameworks. One is a more generalized conceptualization of elements that you think are important when you are going into your classroom. The other type is a much more process-oriented framework. So this time round, for the taking and embracing risk assignment, just note this is worth 30%. It's not a not complete grade. So I will be grading, and you'll get a grade out of 30. You won't get 30%. It'll be out of 30. So keep that in mind. Have a look at the rubric. I'll follow the rubric very closely when I grade them. So for this project, you're going to decide how you want to innovate your curriculum planning. You're going to create a plan that contains your innovation. You're going to implement the plan. Then you're going to report on the plan. So the plan should be based around your framework. So the whole point of doing that framework in Module 2 was to give you some guidelines on what you want to think about and what processes you want to consider, concepts you want to build in to your daily or weekly curriculum planning. And of course, your larger, whether it's monthly or unit-based or what have you, how are you taking that curriculum document that you've got from the ministry or your provincial ministry or from the school board? How are you bringing that to life in your classroom? How are you going to innovate on that and implement the plan? So there's a sort of visualizing the steps here, so you can look through that. It does talk about looking at Module 1 and 2, developing a plan based on your framework, implementing the plan. Now, some of you I know aren't actually teaching at the moment, or you're not in a teaching role. So you can do this as well. Find two peers, not necessarily from the course, but people that you work with. Engage in a critical conversation. Collect feedback. Now here's the rubric. I won't go over this too much, but it's fairly detailed. What I want to highlight, though, is in your plan, is there a significant risk? And I did comment a bit about this. I'm always curious about the tension between, the safe place we want to create in our classroom, but if it's safe, where's the risk? So how do you take significant risks? And another question is, who is taking the risk? Are you taking a risk as your students, both of you, or all of you? And what is that risk? As I pointed out, I do give my students, sometimes I make my students take some risks with their own work. The risk being that they might not get as good a grade. And this is also why I almost never give my students models to follow or, ideal reports. I really want them to make up and capture what it is that they're doing for me in their own way, within, of course, certain guidelines. Connections to Module 1 and 2 are important, especially 2 and the framework, but the framework is derived from your thoughts on Module 1, so you will be commenting on that. You can certainly reference any of the course resources and readings. And I want you to describe what you've learned. So another course I'm teaching right now is the 878 experiential learning course, which I think most of you will end up taking near the end of your program. A lot of that is about you describing your learning, not describing your students' learning. So really keep that in mind. This is an experiential project as well. I want you to think about what you have learned about your classroom, not what your students have learned. Now, saying that, when you think about what you've learned, you do have to, of course, consider, well, did my students learn anything? That's important. But what did you learn from watching your students or working with your students? It says 3 to 5 pages. That's a bit misleading. Try not to go over 1,000 words. Now, it's a fairly detailed rubric. There's a number of things here. It will be hard to fit it into 1,000 words. Try not to go much over, like 12 or 1,300 words should be plenty. So be very concise. Get to the point right away. And I just noticed here there's an exemplar. You can look at it, but I'll be really thrilled if you surprise me with how concise you can be. Then you're going to submit that, and then you're going to post it into the discussion forum, and that will be also, you'll have a chance to see each other's reports after you've submitted it. Okay, reflect on the experience of your classmates. So I always say, we learn from our mistakes, but wouldn't it be great if I could learn from someone else's mistakes as well? So I wouldn't have to make so many mistakes. Doesn't usually work like that, but anyways. There we go. Hopefully that's clear. And again, as always, feel free to email me with any questions at all.